Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Welcome to our recorded group discussion. So today we will be presenting our subtitle analysis task based on a selected film clip from a YouTube shorts. Our discussion will cover the original subtitles, problems identified in terms of meaning, language and length, our improved subtitle versions, and finally what we learned from this task. First, I will introduce the video clip that we selected for the subtitle analysis. The video clip is taken from a YouTube shorts video, which is the film of Legally Blonde. Specifically, show a courtroom scene where the main character uses logical reasoning to challenge a witness testimony. The dialogue focuses on hair pump maintenance rules and their relevance to a gunshot incident. The main character uses rhetorical questions, logical sequencing, and implied sarcasm to expose inconsistencies in the witness statement. This scene is highly dialogue driven and fast paced, requiring viewers to follow the argument carefully in order to understand how the contradiction is revealed. It was chosen because it presents several challenges for subtitle translation, such as technical terms, rapid exchanges, and implied meaning. These features make the clip suitable for analyzing how meaning, clarity, and subtitle length are handled in Malay subtitles. So next, these are the 9 examples of the original subtitles taken from the scene itself. The first 9 lines of original subtitles from the YouTube short is, "Had you ever gotten a perm before?" It automatically translated from the YouTube application itself, which is, "Pernahkah anda mendapatkan perm sebelum ini?"
For the second translation, English is how many would you say? And it translated into Malay subtitle into berapa ramai yang akan anda katakan. For the third one is English audio, you do the math. And then translated into a Malay subtitle into awak yang buat kira.
Next, the fourth one is the original audio says, "We all tried to talk to her out of it." But the Malay subtitle translated to, "Kami semua cuba memujuknya untuk tidak bercakap tentang perkara itu." And then the fifth example from the original audio, because it isn't the first, because isn't it the first cardinal rule of perm maintenance that you are forbidden to wet your hair for at least 24 hours after getting a perm? And then the original, Malay subtitle says, "Kerana bukankah peraturan pertama penyelenggaraan perm adalah anda dilarang membasahkan rambut selama sekurang-kurangnya 24 jam selepas mendapatkan perm."
Okay, so for the sixth one is in the English audio, and wouldn't somebody who's had say 30 perms before in their life be well aware of this rule? And the Malay subtitle is, dan bukankah seseorang yang pernah katakan melakukan 30 kali perm sebelum ini sedar akan peraturan ini? The next one, for the English audio in the movie, and if in fact you weren't washing your hair, as I suspect you weren't because your curls are still intact, wouldn't you heard of the gunshot? And it translated in Malay as, dan jika sebenarnya awak tidak mencuci rambut awak seperti yang saya syak kerana rambut kerinting awak masih utuh, bukankah awak akan mendengar bunyi tembakan itu?
So for the line 8, the original audio, English audio, is, "I didn't mean to shoot him." The Malay subtitle that appears on the screen is, "Saya tidak sengaja tembak dia." And line 9 in English is, "I thought it was you walking through the door." And the Malay subtitle shown is, "Saya sangkakan awak yang sedang berjalan melalui pintu itu."
Okay, so for all these 9 lines, I've noticed that there are some problems in certain translation. The first one is the meaning. So, is the meaning clear from all the automated translated, and is there anything missing or shortened? In terms of language, is the subtitle easy to understand? And is the language formal or informal? And the last one, in terms of length, is the subtitle short and simple? And why do you think it is shortened?
So I'm going to start with the meaning. So in terms of meaning, most of the subtitles generally follow the original dialogue, but some lines are not fully clear. For example, the line "you do the math" is translated as awak yang buat kira, this sounds unnatural in Malay and does not fully convey the implied meaning, which is asking the listener to logically figure it out themselves.
Well, I agree with Alec. Another example is that we all try to talk her out of it, which becomes kami semua cuba memujuknya untuk tidak bercakap tentang perkara itu. But the original means persuading her not to do it, not to do the curls. But the subtitle changes the meaning to persuading her not to talk about it, which is inaccurate.
And yes, and it's in the longer sentence about per maintenance, some parts feels overly literal. The meaning is there, but the sentence is so long that it becomes hard to process. So although nothing major is missing, clarity is affected.
That is totally right, Vila. And I also noticed that the phrase "you do the math" appears again as berapa ramai yang akan anda katakan, which is not even the same meaning. This shows that some meanings are either altered or mistranslated.
Okay, so overall, the main ideas is still understandable, but there are parts where the meaning is either shifted or weakened. This could confuse the viewers, especially those who are really fully rely on subtitles.
So, in terms of language, in general, the language is understandable, but for some sentences, sounds awkward. Salah. So next is language. So in terms of language, in general, the language is understandable, but some sentences sounds awkward in Malay. For example, awak yang buat kira is grammatically understandable, but it is not natural in Malay.
Yeah, and I also feel that the language is mostly informal, which suits the courtroom dialogue style, but sometimes it becomes too direct and literal, and this actually affects the natural flow of the subtitles.
That is right, Kiki, because some technical terms like perm are kept, which is good, but the sentence structure is very English-like. It's very unnatural in Malay, and this makes the subtitle feel translated rather than naturally written in Malay.
Yes, and phrases like bukankah awak akan mendengar bunyi tembakan itu are understandable, but they are quite long and heavy. Simpler phrasing could improve readability.
Okay, so overall, the subtitles are easy enough to understand, but they could be smoother and more natural if the translator adapted the language instead of translating word for word.
So last but not least, length. Some subtitles are short and simple, such as saya tidak sengaja tembak dia dan saya tidak sangka yang awak yang sedang berjalan melalui pintu itu. These works well. These work well and are easy to read for the watchers, for the viewers.
Yeah, but however, the longer lines about perm maintenance are very lengthy. They take up a lot of space on screen and may be difficult to read it in a short time, especially because the dialogue is fast and not everyone can actually understand the basic rules of perm maintenance.
That is totally right, Kiki. And I think that they are shortened in some places because of timing constraints. Because the translator probably tried to fit the subtitles within the limited screen time while keeping the main idea of the audio itself.
Yes, and that might explain why some parts are simplified or slightly changed. The goal is likely to make the subtitle fit the pace of the scene.
Okay, in conclusion, the subtitles are sometimes short for readability, but in other cases, they are too long, which could affect the clarity. And a better balance between length and meaning is actually needed in translation.
Okay, now that we have discussed about the problems that we've noticed in the dialogue from the movie itself, now we already chose three subtitles from the movies and improve it ourselves. So for the first example, the original English is The original English line is "You do the math," but I improved the subtitle into the Kat, ulang balik. Okay. Okay, so that we have discussed all the problems that we have noticed in the movie itself, the dialogue, the translation in bahasa. Now, we're going to choose three dialogues from the movie and improve it by yourself. So, for the first example, the original English line is "You do the math," and the original Malay subtitle that was translated by the YouTube itself is "Awak yang buat kira," which is sounds very unnatural and incomplete. So, we improve it to "Awak buat kiraannya." This version is more natural in Malay and better conveys the meaning of asking someone to calculate or figure it out themselves.
Right. So the next improved subtitle line is how many would you say? It was originally translated as berapa ramai yang akan anda katakan, which is confusing because ramai refers to people, not the numbers of times. So we improve it to berapa kali yang awak agak. We can't use banyak because banyak is for uncountable nouns. This makes the meaning clearer and matches the context of counting how many times something happened, which is the per.
So for the longer sentence, and wouldn't someone who had balik. Cut. So for the longer sentence, I quote, and wouldn't somebody who's had say 30 perms before in their life be well aware of this rule? The original subtitle was, and I quote again, dan bukankah seseorang yang pernah katakan melakukan 30 kali perm sebelum ini sedar akan peraturan ini, which is grammatical awkward. We improve it to dan tidak akan seseorang yang dikatakan pernah melakukan perm 30 kali dalam hidupnya tidak peka dengan peraturan ini. This version is smoother, clearer, and more natural in Malay while keeping the original meaning.
Okay, overall, in our improved subtitles, we could focus on making the sentence sound more natural in Malay instead of directly translating word for word from English. We also aim to clarify the meaning and also could remove the awkward phrasing so viewers could understand the dialogue more easily.
That is right, Shahira, because these improvements shows that small changes in wording can greatly improve clarity and naturalness of the text that we are going to translate. This is because adjusting sentence structure and choosing more suitable words, we can preserve the original meaning while making the subtitle more viewer friendly.
So now that we have completed the discussion. So we're gonna talk about what we have learned from this talk as a group. Now I think that is all from the for the improved subtitle examples and all. So I will start by sharing one key lesson. One thing we learned is that effective subtitle translation requires more than direct word for word translation. Translators need to consider natural language usage so that the audience can understand easily. Right.
Yes, I agree with you, Alec. And we also realized that audience comprehensions and technical constraints like screen speeds and reading speed are very important. You can just copy the original dialogue and then translate it word for word from the English language. The subtitles must fit on screen and be readable in the short time that they appear on screen.
That is totally right, Kiki. And another point about maintaining meaning, preserving the original sentence structure is not always necessary, because what matters is that the audience can follow the ideas of the original audio clearly without losing any essential information.
We also learn the importance of balancing clarity and consequence. Subtitle needs to be short and simple, even if that means reducing rhetorical or descriptive elements. But the core meaning should always remain intact.
Okay, so from what I could conclude, this task really helped us to understand how complex audiovisual translation could be. Subtitles can play a critical role in shaping audiences from understanding and revising and refining them. They improve both fluency and effectiveness. So thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.